Perfect. Okay, so yeah, as usual, we'll be recording the session. Okay, great. So welcome everybody to this next office hours. So like I mentioned, there's in the email, there's 3 things that we wanted to discuss today. And then we'll open it up to Q&A as usual if you guys have specific questions. But the first thing that we wanted to discuss is the June app competition. So for those of you who have been here for a while using Tulip, you know that every month we host a competition, and actually we have a multiple time winner on the call, Ryan. But essentially it's we change it up every month. One month can be on a specific feature within the Tulip platform. Another month it's on a connector to a specific system. But this month we want to see which device you've connected to. So Tulip is used to connect to hundreds of devices around the world, from big machines, CNC injection molding machines, to smaller kind of torque driver scales, handheld tools, stuff like that. But basically, we just want to see some of the awesome tools that you've connected Tulip to, that you're using on your front lines. And the winner will win an Edge MC. So Edge MC, for those who aren't familiar, is our latest Edge device, which allows you to connect to many devices.
Hello.
Oh yeah, sorry, was there a question? Yeah, go Ryan, that's right. So this one here is another exciting gift. Edge MC is it's an awesome prize. So all you have to do is just share a picture, maybe a link to the device that you've connected to, and then you're entered to win the competition. Yeah, so yeah, maybe a link, a photo, and I think what else did I mention? Maybe a description of the use case. So yeah, feel free. We started making them a little bit shorter because we're going to be hosting more competitions. So you have until next Friday to submit your entry. So recommend submitting it as soon as possible. Awesome. Are there any questions about this? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can actually, let me share the link here. Yeah, I think, I know a few folks on the call have connected to devices, so if you want to win an Edge MC, you know what to do. And share the link there in the chat. But okay, so moving on, the next thing that I wanted to discuss is app permissions and approvals. So in Tulip, there are various workflows that you can put to basically manage the versions of the apps that are running on your shop floor. You can do this via just like publishing apps, creating snapshots, and then determining on the shop floor which versions run. But 2 more kind of advanced features that are used less within the platform are permissions and approvals. So permissions, I'll open it up here for a specific app, but basically it allows you to define users within your Tulip instance who are either viewers, editors, publishers, or owners of the app. So it's it's kind of, as you'd imagine, you can come in here and this, I'd like to clarify, this is done for a specific app. So if you want to say, okay, specific user, so I'll say Gil, I want to enable him to be either an editor for this app, I can just come in here, click can edit, and then click the check mark, and boom, just like that. Now I'm set up as the owner, and Gil is an editor on the app, and then everyone else can view it. So if I were to log into my instance from an account that wasn't my own, I wouldn't be able to modify the app. I'd be able to come in, take a look, use it as kind of like a learning exercise and click around, but I wouldn't actually be able to move things around. So I think it's really important to kind of, especially as it grows and there are more users that you bring on board, to make sure that all of your apps have the correct permissions set up and they reflect what's actually happening. So who the owner of the app is, who can edit it, and who can publish it. And they're pretty self-explanatory, the various permission levels, but there's also a support article that you can share here. Does anyone have any questions on this? Are folks using the permissions on your apps? Okay. Yeah. I think
I'm
it's
using permissions, but I have a question. Is there a way to, within stations, give a user or a supervisor the ability to monitor what is happening on a station without giving them access to the rest of Tulip?
yes. So the role for that, and that actually wouldn't be done through permissions. It would be done through managing user roles. Um, so basically, you can come in here and you'll see the station super. Oh no, I'm sorry. The station supervisor can build apps. Um, so what I would recommend for that use case that you defined is a viewer. So you can log into Tulip, view apps, stations, and dashboards and tables, but they can't modify.
Okay, yeah, I have that's what I have them set up as. But I was trying to actually limit their access to the tables and to the apps as well. I just wanted them to see just what was going on.
On in the
Um,
shop floor.
yeah.
Is there a reason why you want them to limit their access to the apps and tables?
No, it was just that's all they really needed. So I was
Oh,
just trying to give them specifically what they needed.
okay, yeah. Yeah, no, so we don't have, sorry, I thought the station supervisor could only go in and view the stations, but I was incorrect. But I think it's always good, like even if they do only have viewer access and they come in here and see the shop floor, it's often useful to go in and see the app to kind of get more context, and they won't be able to modify and break things. So I think it is a pretty useful role if you want to keep people up to speed, but don't want to give them edit access.
Okay, and that's what I currently have, so they should be okay.
Okay, okay, awesome. Um, okay, perfect. So that was permissions. And then the second part that I wanted to discuss is approvals. So approvals, you need to be an account owner to set this up. And if you navigate over here, you go to your icon and then settings. You'll be brought to your account settings. Then the very last one is approval types. So Tulip by default comes enabled with manufacturing compliance and engineering enabled. And if you want, you can create a custom approval type. So you can come in here and say, okay, or let me see, like mechanical engineering approval. So say whenever you make a change to an app, the mechanical engineer needs to go in and sign off on it. You can say Mech E approval. Okay, click create. And here we'll see that currently it's not being used in any app. But now if we go back to an individual, and similar to permissions, approvals are actually defined on app level. So each individual app you can enable specific approvals for. So you can come in here and now you'll see that the mechanical engineering approval is here in the list of approvals. And if I enable it, I can just come in here and I can say, okay, see, I'll put myself as one of the approvers. Good. Now, basically what will happen, the workflow is whenever somebody who is an owner, an editor, or a publisher on this app goes in to publish the actual app, this person, this, oh, let me do it on another app that doesn't have pending approval so you can see the workflow. So if I come in here and I approve this one, I put myself, click submit, and now I edit this app. This one as well has pending approvals. Let me see one. Okay, this one should be good. So I'll come in here, I'll put myself, submit. Now I'll click, it was enabled. Click edit. Now if I go to publish it, I'll say, okay, so the first thing you'll see here is this version needs approval of mechanical engineering. So I'll say I changed step X, for example, then I can click publish version 1. So now in my email, you'll see that this is going to switch over to 2 in just a second. And I can open it up as soon as I receive it. Let me just, yeah, sorry, because it's always a little bit challenging to demo with one user account. But basically, we can see here this is the change that I made, the definition of what I changed, and just saying, okay, this individual needs to come in and approve it. Now, of course, if you want to say, okay, you can put multiple users. Whoever gets to it first can go in and sign off of it, as long as they're in this group. From mechanical engineering, they can come in and approve the app before it gets published. Now, of course, if you are using the publish, you need to make sure that in your shop floor, you come in here and you only run the most recently published version. So yeah, that's an important thing to bear in mind. Sorry, it's always a little bit challenging to demo approvals with only one user account. But does that make sense how it works? Does anyone have any questions? Are folks using approvals actually?
We're in the process of getting it actually set up. So thank you very much for going over that. We're working with the customer right now to help them get that set up. So thank you for going into detail about that.
Yeah, of course. It's good to hear. Yeah, especially customers in regulated industries, it's very important to have approvals. So here, this is the email that I was saying that I just received just a minute ago. So if I come in here, view the app, and now I need to log in with my account. Let's say here, perfect, login, and now I'll be sent to this page here. And now that I'm logged in, I can see, okay, somebody, and this was myself requesting it, but if it was somebody else, it would be user John Smith or whoever requested approval version 1. Then come in here, click approve, submit, and then I input my credentials again. Boom, just like that. And then this version has been published, and it's ready to run. And now wherever you have a station that's only running the last published version, it's going to be running this one here. So, okay, awesome, and welcome. I think there's a couple of folks that joined a little bit late. Welcome. We're just going over approvals and permissions. So if you guys have any questions about those, feel free to jump in. Okay, very good. And then the last thing that I wanted to cover is an app that was added in release 17 of the library. It's called Inventory Management. So the Inventory Management app, and here, let me open up the web page for it. So basically, as the name suggests, it's an app to help you manage inventory within your facility. So this can be inventory in the actual main warehouse of parts. It can be inventory of consumables, of supplies, whatever it is, just to manage inventory. Quantities can be increased, decreased, organized by locations, areas, can include information as serial numbers. And I think this app is good to be used as a kind of a base, if you will, that then other apps can interact with. So if you have like a main app, and I'll show you how it works, the main one here. But if I want to say I have this item here, subassembly 3, and I just want to add 12 because we received them in stock, I come in here, okay, boom, 112. We can very simply come in here and add and subtract parts. Now if I want to subtract 10, it goes back down to 102. Now if I want to say office hours part, and come and say location is in the cloud, area 1, 0, 46. I'll add 34, add quantity, and boom, here we have it. Now it's registered. We have in our inventory table, we now have a new record for this part that we can easily track if we consume a couple of these parts. Come in here, subtract them, and it's been removed. But again, this is, I think it's good. I mean, it's good as a standalone app also because you can kind of, all these are filters up here. So if you want to come in here, filter your table, you can do that easily. So it's good as a kind of a starting point app, but then other apps can kind of go in and read and write information as needed. So if you have the work instructions application that needs to go and every time it's completed, consumes parts from the inventory, you can do that, connect to the same inventory table and subtract parts. Also, if you have like a quality control station in which basically whenever something does not pass a quality control, you need to subtract the part, you can go in there and connect to the same table and subtract the parts. So that's this app here. It comes with video. of a colleague of ours, Mark Friedman, describing how it works and everything. And then there's also the mobile version. So if you come in here, works in a really similar way, but it's formatted for cell phones. So in it's the same video, formatted in portrait mode, kind of just more user friendly on a smaller portrait cell phone. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about this app here? Are folks already using this inventory app?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
So this is obviously using a Tulip table to keep track of the different inventory levels, right? Can we create a connector that pushes data from the table to sheets?
Yeah. So it would have to happen on the trigger, like within the app.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically, whenever you download an app from the library, so say I'll download this one here, for example. I'll just come in here, put in my my instance, and it downloads it and kind of downloads a working version out of the box. Oh, this one's not, I already have it maybe, but let me see here. If I go into my apps and then into my Tulip library, so this inventory management one. So right now it only interacts with the Tulip table, like you clearly pointed out. But if you wanted to, so say here on this add quantity button, you could add another trigger to also write to the Google Sheets spreadsheet.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, oh, not Google Sheet. Yeah, and the Google Sheet is actually another library app. So you can come in here, download both of them so that you'll have all of these functions ready to go.
Yep.
And you can modify them, modify the triggers on the buttons to make sure that, if you need the information reflected both in the Tulip table and in the Google Sheet, you can go in and have that, have both of those transactions happen. I guess one just word of warning, like sometimes I think it's best to have like one source of truth. So if you're using Google Sheets, like maintain that as the individual source of truth and then pull information in from there as needed. But if you want to use instead Tulip tables as the source of truth, that's also great. And then you could use the Tulip API if like another system needs to pull in the inventory. You can always come in here, create a bot, and pull in from the inventory table as needed.
Right. So I think to summarize what you're saying is, if your source of truth is in the sheet, use the connector to pull that information into the app so the person can do the addition or subtraction using the app, and then push that data back to the sheet.
Yeah.
Instead of using a table. I guess the attraction of the table is you can make your apps look a little bit nicer. But you're right, it's pretty important to have just one source of truth.
Yeah, I mean, I think the table has, definitely the advantage that you mentioned, that it looks nicer. Also, if you'll have other folks joining in who aren't as familiar with Tulip, it's kind of always easier if everything is within Tulip and like you need to use table record placeholders and queries and aggregations, but it's all within Tulip. You don't have to deal with functions and connectors and transacting data that way. So I think it's simpler for beginners. But and that being said, all the data that is in Tulip you can make available with the API. So if ever you have, for example, if you have another system that needs to check inventory every so often, you can come in here, use the table API, connect to it, and view the various stock levels of the parts that you have. Yeah, but it's kind of I always think it's important to have, like you can even build a Tulip app for this, but like when you're designing like the whole workflow, like understand like the data structure. So like where do you want to keep what information? So like, okay, my inventory will be in a Tulip table, and then have like, just a very simple flow diagram. Like whenever a user uses this app, it's going to subtract, it's going to consume parts from here, move them over here, and whatever it may be. But I think it's, like laying out the entire flow of information is always quite useful. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah, and even if you do end up using the Google Sheets, I think it's always useful to kind of come in here and learn, download the inventory management app and take a look at how it's done, because it's done by people who spend many, many hours in Tulip. So, they have kind of best practices in terms of how to build apps. So even if you just use it as a learning process, I think it can be very, very useful.
Mhm.
Yeah, awesome. And how's the deployment going, by the way, for you, Jen? How are things going in the latest apps that you've been using?
Well, we've had a lot of change at Kidspo. In fact, Ryan has been promoted.
Oh, awesome.
And he probably didn't share that with you guys, but he has, and he's doing more app writing than I am, which is fun, hopefully fun for him. I've had to move to other projects, but we check in once a week. So if you don't mind, let's ask him how it's going.
Yeah, no, don't mind at all. Yeah, congratulations, Ryan. How are things going with the app building?
Going well. Got a lot of different things I'm getting pulled towards right now, so I haven't been getting folks on it I'd like to, but got 2 or 3 fun ones I'm doing right now.
Awesome. What are the use cases, if you don't mind sharing them?
Well, one is the one from last month, the bomb.
Yeah.
That's still a work in progress, ever improving on that. I've got another one upcoming that's just going to be pretty much a step-by-step workflow process for one of our departments. It's just going to be some basic scan a Kanban card and get like QC identifiers and like work instructions based on whatever style it is. So that's one of the things I'm working on, and the other one is that the whole picture database I was talking with you about last week. That's still working on that, trying to figure out the best way to deal with that.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, 3 really good use cases. Yeah, if you have actually, were you able to get that working, what we discussed last week?
Yeah, I got a basic little version of it working, just like a test demo of it, and I don't have a bunch of data in it, but the basic concept works. So
awesome.
it'll stay simple and won't get over complicated when I add a bunch of stuff to the table.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, really good to hear. Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. Do other folks, I know we have a half an hour, so do folks have questions on apps that you've been building that we can take a look at together, or cool things that you've built in the past couple of weeks that you'd like to share with the rest of the team?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
But when it comes to emailing, we can't set a static address to send an email to. We have to use the users table. No matter what, if you try and go through tables or records, we can't set one outside of the users table. And I was wondering if, mind you, I'm going to put it into the community because I have no problem doing that, but I was wondering if there was just some way I wasn't seeing it initially.
Yeah, no, you didn't miss anything. So what you described is correct. Somebody has already posted about it. So let me see here. Yeah, this is the one. So it was Heather Wagner posted about this a couple of months ago. Be really good to be able to assign email address to users as well as admins. But then the real question was, kind of sending to outside users, and you can do this using another system. It's a connector. It's called SendGrid. There are hundreds of them. It's like, this is Twilio. They bought it. But basically, you create a connector and a function, and then it's really simple. All you have to do is this, and I copied all this information here. But you basically build a connector, send a function, and then you can pass in the to input the individual's email, and then a subject and a body, and that will send off that email here. So let me see if I still have, oh yeah, look, here it is. So say I have the send email. Now I say, I send it to myself, tulip.co, hello world, 1, 2, 3, click test, boom, 202 accepted, that's good. Now if I just pause this a second, if I come in here, yep, perfect, here it is in my inbox, and now I have this email, hello
Okay.
world, 1, 2, 3.
All righty, I'll look it up in community, and thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. This is, I think this is an interim solution while we do add the ability to send emails to folks that are not users, but for the meantime, this is pretty simple to set up, and I think should resolve most of the use cases.
It's a paid service, though, isn't it?
I think you have a couple of hundred free ones, actually. Yeah. Start for free. I don't know, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but these services typically do allow like in the hundreds for free.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you also have a use case for it, Scott?
Possibly. I mean, I know that right now, not all of our engineering team is in Tulip, so yeah, it would be handy if we could send outside.
Yeah. So what folks have also done is so let me see, 100 emails a day forever. So it's quite a high volume of emails that they allow. But yeah, what folks have also set up is kind of a distribution list. So within your company, if you say you have like engineering at company.com, then that email forwards it to all the members of the engineering. That's a good way to solve it. All right, thanks, Jen. See you next time. Yeah, and I think for the couple of folks that joined late, I just did want to share the June app competition. I think most folks are already on for the permissions, but for the June app competition, it's pretty exciting. You can win an Edge MC to connect to devices running on your shop floor. And basically, we want to see what devices you've connected to. So from barcode scanners, torque drivers, handheld tools, scales, to bigger machines, EDM, CNCs, injection molding machines, whatever it is. Tulip is connected to many tools around the world, and we're just looking for the most interesting one. So if you want to submit an entry, just add an image of the tool, description of how it's being used, and share it here in the competition. You can win the Edge MC, but it needs to be done soon because it's ending next Friday. So if you could submit it in the next couple of days, that's highest likelihood of winning. Yeah, awesome. And actually, for the folks that joined late, did everyone see the app permissions and approvals overview? Would it be useful for me to go over them again? Okay.
The permission side, probably the approvals make sense. But the permissions, yeah, I'd like to see that if possible.
Yeah, for sure. So the permissions are basically, if you come in here, and these are done on a per app basis. So all the apps that you have, you can come in here and actually, sorry, I'm not logged in. Let me just pause a second. It's always hard to demo this because it's done intentionally to kind of allow multiple team members to work together. So I need to sign in and out always, but okay, if I now sign back in. But basically on a per app level, you can assign, so by default, everyone is an owner. And then you can come in here and you can add custom permissions. So you can say, okay, I want this individual to be either a viewer, which they won't be able to come in and modify or publish or do anything. We can just view the app. So it's good if somebody's learning Tulip, but you don't want to break anything within your workflows. You can assign them this permission level here. Edit. They can come in, modify things, move things around, change triggers, change everything, but can't publish. And then of course, publishers have all these accesses plus can publish. And then finally is the owner, and they have all the access. They can come in here and define who has the various permissions on the app.
So it has, does these permissions have anything to do with the actual player itself, or is this just for the editing?
No, this is just for the editing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I had my IT group was actually asking that question today. Was right now I know we can control access to applications based on criteria, you know, within like, you know, when you start an app, go out and look at this person's user unique field. Does it equal this? And if it does, let them, you know, go into it. But the question is like, say that I want to go to a different station, and that station may not be necessarily set up for all the apps I'm approved for. It's only set up for the apps that maybe we currently have in production. And if like that, say that goes down, or we have multiple users and I want to go to another station, I have to go in and allow that station to have those permissions. So I guess so we've got the permission at the station level, but then you have permissions at the app level. Is there any way of setting that up to where, like, no matter really like what station this individual goes to, they would have access to everything?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, you want to basically, like, some users can go in from the player side and you'd like to limit their access to apps, whereas other users from any station from which they go in, you'd like them to run specific apps. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's more so from like our IT team. So like if we go out there on, you know, to station one, and station one within Tulip is only allowed to run this one particular app, but then an IT rep goes over there and wants to open an app to maybe either troubleshoot something or check to make sure something got done or whatever, since that station does not have those apps available.
Oh, I see what
You
you
know
mean.
what I mean? Like he would have to go in and either go to a different computer and or assign that station he's at to, you know, to a different station.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's more like an IT thing, so it's not really a huge deal because they can do it from their own computers. But
yeah, right.
it was just something that they asked.
Yeah, there's not like an easy way to do it. I mean, like the way that you could do it is just like allow all apps here, like allow the station to run every single app within your instance, and then like you already, sounds like you already put in the kind of the on app started, like check, okay, are they from the IT team? If so, let them continue, otherwise kick them out, kind of thing. But then, you know, like anybody who goes in would see all the apps from the player whenever they come in here to change the app. So yeah, I think it's best if like they use, like, you know, they can set up another station for their like IT team and then use that to like test things out, check things out as needed.
Now, this is probably not right, but would a navigation application help with something like that? Like if we had so say we have station one, they're only set up to only be able to run these two apps. So that's really that's the only apps they have access to. But if there is a navigation app that would have those other apps available, would it allow it to be pulled up at that station or not?
It's a really good suggestion. Like I guess it's called like a router app.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, like, you know, you could put, you know, you could have an app like, you know, something like this router, and here you just add buttons for all of your apps, and then basically you can check at this level here, like, okay, if the user who's logged in, you know, like you were saying, like, is he a manager? Is he or she a manager? Yes or no? Then here, let them continue. Otherwise, say, oh, sorry, you don't have access to run this app. And that's actually a really good solution. I hadn't thought about it. That could be a really good way of solving that problem.
But if that station is only set up to run, like say app one, but IT wants to come in and go to this navigator and open up app two that currently isn't isn't written to that station, it wouldn't allow them to open it at that
No,
station.
no, it wouldn't. No, it would bring them back to the player menu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And my second question is some of our SQL queries, when we write them, even though they return as an array, sometimes Tulip makes me push them onto an array in order to be able to select the different components of that array. And an example of that would be we're trying to pull back a part number and a description and a lot ID, for instance. And sometimes when we write connectors and I push those onto a variable like you would with any other connector, when I get it go into the app and I say, okay, I want you to write data manipulation, this variable part number from that connector,
Yeah.
it's available to me in a list. So, you'll have the connector variable, and then you'll have like the 3 or 4 headers that it pulled over, and you can select from those. But sometimes when I do, it can be almost written the same way. I have to actually take that variable and then push it onto an array to be able to drill down to get.
Oh yeah. So have you seen here? You see when you go to run a connector function, save the output of something, you can either store it as a variable in an array, and it's actually quite a deceiving thing because once you do it once, like once you do it the first time, you can't change it. And my intuition is that this is what's happening. So sometimes you're saving them as variables, and sometimes you're saving them as arrays. And when you save them as variables, that's when you have to like do an array to drill down.
Okay. I'll have to go back. So that's not on the actual connector level, right? That would be actually within that piece of logic. Exactly.
Yeah. And this is, it's a bit confusing. Like, I don't love this, to be honest, because once you do it the first time, you can't change it. It's not like something you can go in and lots of other things in Tulip you can go back and change. Whereas this, you need to do it right the first time.
Okay. So I just need to try to rewrite that whole function, and it should give me those two options. Exactly. Right now, it only gives me the variable option.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I'll try that.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Yep, of course.
Gio, I have a quick question for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Ishmael.
Going back to the permissions.
Yeah.
If I just choose the everyone as a can view, do I have to also add myself as an administrator?
So I think
if I just pick everyone as a can view, right? So that means everybody can only view all the apps. My question is, do I have to also add myself as an administrator in that permission?
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand it's two different things. Being an administrator, being an administrator is on the entire instance level. So you can have different user roles for your entire instance. So everything within your instance, you can go in, kind of see as an administrator. And then apps, you can have viewers, but then as you see here, you cannot remove the last owner. So you need to have at least one person, because otherwise, if you create only viewers, then that's it. No one can go in and modify the app anymore, and it's done. So you need at least always one owner.
I see. Okay.
But then you can put everyone else as anything below owner.
So basically, I have to add myself as an account owner.
No.
Then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Right. And then I can add everyone else as a can view.
Exactly, on the individual app, but you still need to. So the account owner, again, that's the user role. Whereas you need to do both assign yourself account owner and assign yourself permission owner on all the individual apps. So it's
of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yep. Yeah. Then that's perfect. Then, but as a word of warning, you're gonna have a lot of work for yourself, because if it's gonna be only you, who everyone else can just view them, and you're gonna have to, it's gonna be all on you to.
Right. Well, what I was doing is I was going to the user up to now, up to today that we just started this discussion, and I was assigning people as a can review over there as users.
Yep. So yeah, here, like, I don't know, you were coming in here and modifying this.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was just using this viewer.
Yeah. So I think it's all like, it's important. Like, what you're modifying here is Gil's access to the entire instance. So for example, like Delroy was mentioning earlier, you know, if you only want people to go in and view things within your account and they can't, now this includes connectors, tables, stations, dashboards, everything. They can only go in and view assets. They can't modify anything. This is where you do it. But if you want to limit access on apps only, you can still make them admins or account owners, but they won't be able to go in and modify specific apps that you limit the access to. It's kind of up to you to like define, okay, like where do you want to set the user access levels and where do you want to set the specific app?
So if I want someone to have just access to apps, not the connectors and everything, what should I pick up right now in this screen?
So you want to have them have access to the apps where they can only view them or also modify them?
No, just view them.
Okay, then yes, I would do viewer. Like this, I would leave them as viewer, but they will also be able to view the connectors and everything else.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. See ya, Chris. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's just that when you mentioned that they still can view connectors, I still don't know how to sort of like prevent them from viewing the connectors and tables.
There's no way of doing that.
No way of doing it.
Yeah, that can't be done. If they have a viewer role, which is the lowest level in terms of access,
Right.
they can still view the connectors. But I think it's very important because all the apps often work in conjunction with connectors and tables, and you know, it's like they need to have access to view all those other things, even though they can't go in and modify them or break things. It's still important for them to go see, like, okay, when this button is clicked and this connector function runs, what is this connector function doing? Open it up and take a look in there.
Okay, good. So they can just view it though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, of course.
Gio, I had a question for you on app approvals.
Yeah.
So I had submitted a community request a while ago to see if we could add more things into the app approval process to more follow the engineering change approval. So basically have more fields available. I haven't heard anything on that in quite some time. Is there any movement on that?
I need to follow up on that. Would you mind sending me, let me see, or unless we can find it here.
I was just looking, I can't find it either.
Oh,
But
really?
I know I got a response back from Kevin, you know, basically saying, hey, that's a good idea. I want to get some more data from you. And that was really the last correspondence. I sent him off what he was looking for, but I didn't hear anything more.
Yeah. And you sure it was in community? It wasn't a direct email to Kevin or something, or like some other?
No, he actually asked me to submit it in community.
Oh, okay, awesome.
I wish there was an easy way for me to get to my top, or maybe there is, I just don't know how, get to, you know, things I've submitted.
Yeah, it's here. It's these ones here.
Posted by, okay.
Yeah.
Categories.
Yeah.
That's
And-
funny. It doesn't find
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Was it by any chance, like, did someone else post it and you followed, like you added more context, or was it,
Oh, you know what? It was a feature. I think I did a feature request.
yeah, but those should still come up. See, Ishmael.
Well, it's funny. I don't see any of the feature requests that I've submitted come up.
And do you have maybe 2 accounts, or is it always the same one?
No, I only have the one.
Yeah, we can definitely follow up on that. I'll see what could be going on. Yeah, I think I also remember seeing more posts from you.
Yeah, and you know, we would love to go to the approvals and not use our in-house system, because it's a really cumbersome process for us to, you know, print a PDF and take it out and go into our other system and approve it, and then print another PDF for the final version. It makes a lot of sense. It's just that we would need more of the traditional engineering change data fields to go into the approval process.
Hmm.
That's
And
all. That's all really missing right now. You know, in the approvals, at least from the tests that I've done, you can give a very brief description of, you know, this is why these are different, but all the other things, you know, for our QMS system that we need to address for product changes aren't covered.
and what are some of those fields? I mean, is it?
Oh, that's why I was trying to pull up my post,
Oh,
because that's where I had some of it.
yeah. So, you know what? I'll put you in touch. So first of all, I'll look up why your posts aren't showing up, because they should be showing up, and then I'll put you in touch with Pete, because Pete is from our product management team here at Tulip, and we're adding more approvals to other, well, actually versions to other assets within Tulip. So maybe would you be open to having a conversation with him?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, so I'll put you in touch later on, and
Okay.
he'll be eager to hear your input.
Okay.
Awesome, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course, thank you.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, Gio, something that we've been discussing in house. So we became ISO certified last year,
Oh, nice.
and right now most of our documentation, of course, is all in PDF versions, and we have our own in-house workflow management system for when we make a change to that document. So I know with an application, it's easy enough to get approval to, you know, to launch that application for it to be used. However, when you're talking about like dynamic work instructions, or one app that essentially controls several control documents, if we go in and the ME wants to make a change to a specific task, if you will, within a certain procedure or work instruction, right? Currently, if they do that via our control documents, they have to, you know, request the document, an editable version of the document, they edit it, and then they put in the new version, and it goes through the approval process of, you know, the ME manager, safety, then it has the final approver, and then the document control specialist uploads it into the system.
Yeah.
So if we were, you know, we're trying to push more paperless over in this side of the plant that we have Tulip in now. So we would need that type of functionality, which I'm assuming we would probably have to do within an app, to have those permissions and to have those, you know, I guess it would get assigned to the next person in the queue for them to approve. So it's almost like what Scott's talking about with the engineering change process would be something very similar to like a work instruction change, where it would have to go through multiple different departments or individuals before they could actually use it on the floor.
Yeah. That's so like, first of all, I guess the first thing you can create, like, you know, if you come in here and you can create kind of custom approval types for whatever you'd like. And then you can assign for each app, you can assign the specific approval. And, you know, in this example now, manufacturing compliance and engineering will have to come off and sign off on it before this app is published. So you can kind of like put together a workflow. You know, there are softwares like I've worked with softwares that, you know, kind of just like that's the only thing they do is like change order management. And it's like it's a whole workflow. So this is like the first iteration within Tulip where you know, you have like approvals available, but it's definitely, it's not, you know, it's not like the most robust. There are softwares that do this dedicated. But that being said, like I mentioned, we are expanding it. So yeah, if you'd also be interested in speaking with our product management team, I'm sure they would be very happy to hear your feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, but that's what we kind of figured, because, you know, when we go in and because right now we're in the process of kind of developing or we're more so manipulating the dynamic work instruction app that Mark created.
Yep.
And, you know, so you essentially have your procedures, and then you go in and you create your task, and then you assign those tasks to those procedures. Well, in order for that really and truly from an ISO standpoint, for us to be able to release that procedure on the floor, that procedure would have to have some type of approval. And that procedure is not an app. It's a combination of tasks within the procedure.
Mm. Yeah, and so each of these procedures needs to have its own kind of approval process, like every single combination.
Yeah, and it's almost where, you know, if our document control specialist, she'll yell at you and be like, well, you can change it, but you need a version control. So if I have a procedure that has 4 tasks in it, and then I go and I add another task 6 months later, I need approval to have that 5 task procedure available for my operators, but I have to have that old version that had only the 4 tasks in it available for ISO auditing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's definitely an interesting thing because it's you know, you can build Tulip with so many like it basically that it runs in so many different versions that it can be like quite quickly like balloons out of proportion the number of versions and approvals that you need. So yeah, to be honest, I'm not really sure what the best way to tackle is, like all within Tulip. It sounds like you've already played around with permissions and approvals. But yeah, I think a conversation with our product team would definitely be helpful to kind of get more insight into how that could work.
okay, yeah, and I talk to Mina about once or twice every couple of weeks, so I'll mention it, and Jessica too, so I can mention it to them. But yeah, it's definitely going to take, you know, some building out of an application to be able to do that. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, and like as I kind of mentioned earlier, you know, right now approvals and permissions only exist on excuse me, on apps, whereas in the future they'll also be coming to other components within Tulip, so connectors, tables, and dashboards, I believe, as well, but I'm not certain on that. You know, currently connectors, you can have different versions, but you can have actual versions. You can have different environments, but you can have actual versions. So that's going to be upcoming in future releases. Okay, awesome. Are there any other questions that we can help out with? Okay, awesome. Is there anything that would be useful to cover in next week's session, or anything that folks wanted to share or something? Or if not, I can, you know, go into another part of the platform that is interesting. Okay, yeah, I'll maybe next week we can do dashboards, but we'll see. If you have anything that comes up that you'd like to go over together, feel free to post in community. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining, providing good feedback. I have a couple of follow-up action items that follow up with folks on individually. But yeah, thanks for joining, and we'll see everyone soon.
Thanks, Joe.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.